If you load it up big, you better clear the rest. The solvent list takes away all my stress. Life's been feeling like kind of a mess. I'll never let a hater make me think less, because everything before this was just a test.
Bagseed Chronicles.
I'm riding, all the homies with me. Yeah, we've been getting hella faded. Just like our eyes, we be staying low-key. Vibing out, oh, we're staying medicated. I'm riding, all the homies with me. Yeah, we've been getting hella faded. Just like our eyes, we be staying low-key. Vibing out, oh, we're staying medicated. I'm about to go up in a blaze. I don't give a fuck unless I'm getting paid. When life gives you lemons, better make lemonade. When the girls get
Hello, all. Welcome back to the Bagseed Chronicles. I am your host, Uncle Dig, and it, of course, as always, has been too long. I've had some bereavement in my personal circle. Someone, of close biological relation to my wife died. My grandmother went into hospice, and a friend of mine killed themselves in October, so it's been kind of a rough, cold season for Uncle Dig, but we're muddling through it. While I was gone, I had a conversation, and someone mentioned to me that the show seemed like it didn't really have an agenda. And I told them, I do have an agenda. I want you to legalize weed wherever you're listening, so that if I ever want to come visit, I can have my best time and live my best life. But I don't know if that's even it. I think that the Bagseed Chronicles, honestly, is just at its root, at its base, a celebration of cannabis the plant, cannabis the drug, cannabis the medicine, cannabis the culture, I've often said that I'd rather hang out in the Grateful Dead parking lot than actually go to the show. So I've always been more about the weed than, some of the other stuff. I have friends that are very into psychedelics, and I'm into them as well, but not to the same degree. Weed, cannabis, I think, as far as drugs, will always be my first and foremost love. I love cannabis, and I think that's what the Bagseed Chronicles is all about, is deep, unabashed love for the cannabis. Love loud, live loud, right? Whatever. So, in the spirit of that, I may come across a little looser in the coming season than I normally do. I may come by a little less prepared, because I will be a little less prepared. I am going to have a slight change in the coming year, that I'm going to be a little more impulsive, a little more informal. That may result in a more entertaining endeavor. It may result in a bit of a failure. Aren't you excited to see where this more informal version of the Bagseed Chronicles goes? I sure am. So I'm going to follow my whims creatively. I'm going to live a little more dangerously. And I'm going to have on, guests, as always. I'm going to do more segments and stuff. And I am going to try to get back on a fortnightly release schedule for my fine friends who like to listen to me talk. I was in Arkansas in the end of February, beginning of March, and I was in Houston, Texas for Easter. I went to Arkansas to see off my grandmother, who's in hospice, and I got to meet a new member of my family while I was in Texas. So that was very lovely. Thank you to everyone who hosted me. Your generosity was appreciated. And while I was in Houston, I smelled a smell. So I know that if y'all ever legalize in Texas, there is a culture bubbling beneath the surface, just waiting to be released. Like that bong rip I had earlier, eh? So today, I will have a very short garden update that will be a recap of my garden endeavor from over this winter, and then I'll go over what I'm trying to grow currently. After that, I have an interview with Gemseeker Genetics, with Cavemane from Gemseeker Genetics that I recorded in February. So it's taken me a little while to release it. For that, I apologize. And there's actually a first part of this interview that I chopped out that's going to be a Radio Tacoma exclusive until Lucas releases it on the Cannabis Corner. Once that happens, I'll release it on this feed, maybe. I just realized I need to email Lucas and transfer that file over. Gosh, I have fallen behind on so many obligations. Live loud, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, let's fucking do it. Uncle Dig's garden update. So, honestly, everything went really, really, really well in the winter grow until the last few days. Honestly, even though I had to go to Arkansas in the middle of the last days of flower, it would have been fine. Except that I got hung up in Denver. And we all know that when you get hung up in Denver, there's not much you can do. The Blue Eyes White Dragon was fine, but the large orange sherbet was a little dried out, so only the tops really retained the flavor. The rest of the plant was a little bit too bereft of water for a little bit too long, so that's unfortunate. But some good news, I had some new yield records. Speaking of that Blue Eyes White Dragon, it set my new personal yield record of 4 ounces on an autoflower. Of course, I've had way bigger yields on photos, but that's the most I've ever grown off an autoflower. Super proud of myself. And hey, this is the Gemseeker Genetics victory lap episode, right? Of course, he had the last yield record holder from my last big indoor run, the Bust Down Patek, which was at 3.11 ounces. So this blew that out of the water. I think I'm getting better as a gardener, but I think also the genetics I'm getting are also way better. Really happy with the indoor this year. I grew 13 autoflowers and I yielded a little over 1.5 pounds. So I'm very excited. I was kind of sad this winter, so I smoked a hella weed, and I basically went through almost all of my outdoor. So it's good to have a big indoor yield to get me through until the first summer autoflower harvest, which will probably not be until July, which is, it seems like so far away. But we're going to be fine. We're going to be okay. So let's talk about what I'm doing now. I am trying to grow one autoflower, a CBD green crack from 420 Fast Buds. So that's exciting. I'm growing that in the standard autoflower mix of Fox Farms Ocean Forest. This is recycled once by this time. This has already had one grow in it. Same for the seedling starts minus the amendments. I literally just added a little bit of worm castings, a little bit of perlite, and then 2 tablespoons of a blooming fertilizer from Gardner and Bloom from the local Grange store, and then 4 tablespoons of their veg fertilizer, also organic, and then that'll just sit in that, and it probably won't get fertilized from when it's really in 21 days of strong veg. Although I have been thinking about modifying that schedule a little bit, maybe making it more frequently. I haven't decided yet. We'll see how it goes. Sometimes they seem to get a little hungry. I'm also starting my first real pheno hunt. I'm going to try to keep a mother plant for a year. So I'm running 13 Aga Red or Maroof Red from Red Scare Seed Company. I'm doing it. I'm running the last of my Jaroa Afghan seeds. The now defunct government of the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan, right? The old Jaroa that is no more, that we all fought for. Not you, me and my buddies. Oh, I mean, you might have, if you're listening. I don't know. Anyway, what a regrettable thing. Anyway, so I'm growing some Afghan genetics, looking for that narcotic, relaxing high, looking for something that smells really bad. I should mention, folks, that when I say I'm hunting for stuff that smells like corpses or like skunks that's like rotting, it doesn't generally taste like that. It generally tastes like herbal or like almost sweet or like berry. It actually tastes way better than it smells. I think a lot of the old stoner and their potheads know this, but I don't know if everyone does. Like, it doesn't taste as acrid as it smells. Although sometimes it does. But those generally don't stick around, do they? Those don't get saved. Anyway, so I'm germinating 13 seeds in a depleted medium that I grew autoflowers in. So that'll be interesting. I've never done photos in the recycled medium before. Usually I do it in seed starter stuff, but I thought, hey, let's get wild. And I didn't want to buy dirt. I didn't want to leave the house. So there was that. And it looks like some of them are just starting to pop above the surface. So it looks like it's working. I used the paper towel method and I let it go a little bit long. So some of them were a little bit long. So I hope it doesn't cause some lankiness problems. The CBD green crack hasn't been long enough to plant. I might have a sluggish one. I might have to restart another seed. But yeah, it is April 5th, and we are doing a pheno hunt. And whatever we don't keep that's female, we are putting outside to finish outdoors. I am excited for this year. I am hoping to get some really special guests, some new guests, some guests with maybe larger followings. That seems to have been a trend this last season. Let's hope that continues. I really do enjoy seeing those download numbers grow. Let's all grow so we all have enough, Share with your friends if you can. But definitely grow weed for yourself. It's amazing. You can do this. But now we're in the Bagseed Chronicles, and we're not going to edit shit, and we can cuss. What?
Leave that silence in there too. That would be perfect.
Okay. Oh, and you know what? I'm so glad that you said that in that interview, in the radio interview. I'm gonna leave it in too. That Purple Punch lacks potency. Because I've suspected that for a long time. People will be like, "Oh, you need a good knockdown indica, have some Purple Punch." I grew a clone of Purple Punch that was supposed to be legit, and it turned purple. And we had some smoky summers, so I thought maybe it wasn't the plant's fault. I thought the sunlight might have been low quality, but it didn't. I wasn't impressed.
Did it taste good?
Nah.
That's crazy. Purple Punch tastes amazing.
Well, like I said, it was a smoky year.
Oh, yeah, and it's outdoor too, so...
Yeah, so like a lot of times if it's like really bad smoke, like...
For sure. And that's what I take a dig on for. Outdoors kind of like, like things have their years, and that just wasn't that outdoors year, so...
Oh, dude, that outdoor year was horrible. I had that Purple Punch finish early, and which is normally good. Normally I'm happy when things finish early. But it finished right in the middle of like a smoky September. And then they changed the street light on the other side of my fence from a like aluminum halide or a high intensity discharge, something that wasn't fucking with the plants. And they changed it to a fucking like high discharge LED. And it caused all of my like about like half of my plants to just do this weird like forever mid-flower thing where they wouldn't bulk up because the light was staying on all night. It was horrible. So I just ruined my whole outdoor. My whole outdoor on that side of the house was just fucked.
You just do auto flowers out there now?
Yeah, on that side of the house, I do auto flowers. And that's all I do. Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding.
Oh yeah, that's it. And after that package you sent me, I'm not gonna have to buy fucking seeds for a while. I'm just gonna blow up my backyard on that side. I'm gonna have like, I don't know, like allegedly, I'm gonna have like 20 autoflowers out there. Allegedly.
People will talk shit until they're blue in the face about autoflowers. But I'm like, hey man, they have like you can get some amazing highs, and if you fuck with my shit, you're gonna, it's awesome. But like, and if you're just talking any old autoflower, like at least it'll you're not gonna have an issue with the light cycle, or you can handle.
No, they have their application, man.
So
Like,
they have
listen,
the basis.
it's like okay, like, and a lot of growers, man. Like, let's be real. A lot of growers smoke like fucking an ounce a day. So
Absolutely.
they don't fuck with autos because they're like, oh, what does it have? Like an ounce to 3 ounces? That's not enough weed to fuck with. I'm like, well, bro, not everyone smokes, 3 pounds a month. So an auto
Yeah, yeah.
flower will do them just fine for a little while. And if they blow up a 4x4 with 6 of these mother truckers, I'm telling you what. Oh, we
Dude,
can
you can,
cuss now. We're not on the radio. There we go.
yeah, that's what's cool. If like hell, a bunch of planetary gas in a tent, you pack it out as much as you want, and they're not gonna get too crazy tall on you.
Dude, I was surprised I didn't get mold this run, dude. I
Yeah, I
don't know.
was worried about. I saw you, man. I saw you throw that thing on the side that covered up the blue eyes, and I was like, "Oh my, what has he done?"
It's fine. It's packing on. It's not
Yeah,
done yet.
I was worried about it.
Well,
I was
I had to. So I had for the audience, I had an orange sherbet plant. So one of the orange sherbet, you talk about variation. So this is not Gemseeker's stuff. This is some, I think, way older autoflower genetics from 420 Fast Bud. So I popped 3 orange sherbet seeds. One of them is about a foot tall with like the classic old school lowrider autoflower structure. It's got 4 lateral branches with buds on them, and then one giant main, just giant, obscene looking donkey dick cola. And that's it. And it's about 12 inches tall. Her sister is about 2 feet tall and has a classic modern autoflower structure. Just good lateral branching, not a super dominant main cola, and is probably in mid flower. Their sister, I had to move out to my 4x4 because she was outgrowing my 2x2 and crowding out all the other plants. She's almost like she's over 3 feet tall. She's almost 4 feet tall. I've never had an autoflower this big. I think it's semi-full term. It's a freak. It's in early flower.
early flower. Yeah, there you go.
I'm gonna have 1 4-foot tall autoflower in my 4x4, and that's gonna be it for like a couple weeks.
Yeah, that's chill too.
Oh man, yeah, I'm trying to finish up. I've got 6 autoflowers hanging right next to me right now. 3 of the planetary gas, a Girl Scout cookie, some other stuff from Atlas. I've got a lot of stuff going on. I thought I had 11 plants and I had 13.
It sounds like by the time she's ready to really start flowering, you'll be able to throw her outside.
Oh no. No, there's probably like I if I hadn't have got ripped this summer and I was still sitting on like pounds of weed, I'd do some crazy ass shit like that. But I'm actually trying to keep. I'm not trying to burn. And she's a dude. This is such a big autoflower, dude. There might be 4 ounces on this thing. Like
probably could be like that.
Dude, well, it's just started, but her sister already started. The pistils already started turning brown, and she didn't put as much bulk on as I thought. So they're just really interesting. The variety in some older autoflower work versus the stuff I've been popping now from everyone. It's now like it's much more consistent versus even 3 years ago, I would say.
Found some cool stuff in the purple lemonades from 420 Fast Bud.
I love 420 Fast Buds if you want to try a bunch of different stuff, but I hung on to their seeds too long was part of the problem.
Mm-hmm. I've definitely found some weird stuff there too. So,
dude, I'm telling you, the little like lowrider orange sherbet that I've got, and I want to take credit and say it's my fault that they're all different, but they were born in the same tent under the same light with the same water and the same soil. Like, you know what I mean? Now they've all been moved because they're sized so differently. I had to move them into different tents, but it's not my fault this time. I won't take credit for it. I've ruined some runs, but this wasn't my fault.
Hey, it's cool that you got this space to be able to mess around and have a little fun or experiment a little bit.
I've got to like that. This is what I tell people: you're gonna die one day, and you've every gardener only has so many summers or seasons or whatever. So once you get to a point where I don't even want to say I'm comfortable growing, but I've been growing now for like 6 years. It's time to fuck around a little bit more.
Yeah. I had just harvested like 6 different phenos. And I caught myself smoking the pheno that I didn't like the most. I liked it. I found myself smoking the one I liked the least first. And I was like, Trevor, what are you doing, bro? I was like, you should probably be smoking the one like you're not promised tomorrow, man. So smoke your best one.
I struggle with that too because I like to save my best stuff for last too.
Uh-huh. And I was just like, you know what? We might not see it. So
Well, I've compromised. Now I'll hit a rotation of whatever I've got going on over the day, like whatever I've got in jars over the day. I'll start with CBD and then I'll smoke like some amnesia haze and then I'll move on to like, something like an indica hybrid. And then we get into the afternoon and then we just start, killing brain cells, limiting my intelligence quotient through artificial means.
you look like you have just pulled an all-nighter if you go to stare area.
just like listening to like trance remixes in my garage at like 3 p.m. like just staring at nothing.
Yeah. You look like SpongeBob when he needs water.
Oh man, I love having you, dude. It's crazy what's going on in Oklahoma. They didn't waste no time in going after people any way they could.
Man, I'm dealing with some extra stuff right now if we're talking politics. We're trying to throw like a county jail near my damn neighborhood, and it's like,
Oh no,
so much fun.
that I don't know, man. A county jail, I don't know. I guess you don't really want a jail in your neighborhood, right?
You do not want a jail in your damn neighborhood. And like, especially when it's doing just fine where it's at.
Oh, do they have a jail already?
And there's a proposal just to rebuild that one, and it's like
Just
keep it where
build just build another one right next to it, and then move them into the new one and use the old one as like an annex. Come on, guys, this is government 101. What are you dumb?
Government 101, people.
Like, listen. I'm like, listen, y'all have money. Like, if Oklahoma has money for anything, it has money, not schools, but it has money for cops and jails. I know this. I've been there. No money for schools, no money for public health, no money for whatever, but cops and jails, y'all have got money for.
Like, we just literally approved like some school that's like literally right next to our house. Like, it's a blessing. Kids go to it. But it was like they just approved like it's some astronomical number that's just like unbelievable. It's like some $100 million for new school. So they're doing that. But then like, oh, we get this jail now. Here you go.
Wait, they're gonna put the jail right next to the school?
I mean, it's not like directly.
Right. Oh, okay.
But hell, that like they're literally building that jail like in between 2 schools. So, but if it was
I want to make an analogy about like the modern state of government. Like they're just the pipeline's like right there in front of you. Like the school to prison pipeline is like a lane between the two now.
that was my immediate thing whenever and that's my fear is like if they're gonna build a jail right here, they're gonna fill it up. Like that's the the goal is to fill the jail up.
Yeah,
so,
they don't do empty jails.
Yeah, they're not gonna have it in jail, so they're gonna fill it up. And I don't
so,
want to be in the area where they're gonna start filling it up. How about
it's so funny. So here in my area in Oregon, the Medford area, Jackson County, Oregon, it's kind of a more rural area, but there's a couple of like bigger towns, and our jail is like from like the 80s. It's old as shit and it's always full. And the sheriff's like, we need a jail. Give me a jail. So they put it on the ballot and people will campaign for it, and then it always gets voted down. No, you can't have a new jail. And the sheriff's like, y'all say you love law enforcement. Why won't you give me a new jail? And I want to be like, because then you'll fill it.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
bro, right now you have to make hard decisions about who you keep.
That's how
Good.
it works. That's
Yeah.
how it works. It should be a little harder of a decision if you're going to change somebody's life like that.
Bro, like, you know what I mean? And it does suck because Oregon passed Measure 110, which decriminalized a lot of drugs. And then in that referendum, the state was mandated by the people to allocate funds and resources to get up treatment programs.
Oh,
Now, what the state did was just say, okay, we'll stop enforcing certain drug laws. And then everyone was like, okay, what about the treatment? And the state was like, what about it? They just didn't do it. They didn't do it. They purposely set it up to fail.
so then it's like homelessness skyrocket.
Oh, bro, it's bad. And now they're like, look at now the state's like, now the legislature's like, look at how bad the homelessness is. We need to recriminalize drugs. And we're like, you didn't even try. It's been 2 years.
Yeah.
What the fuck, bro? This is gonna be hard. We're gonna have we're being a boilerplate for democracy. That's hard. We're being an experiment. Let's run the experiment. We've had illegal drugs for 2 centuries. Let's try them legal for 2 years and then call it a failure. No, let's give this a go. Let's get these centers set up. And of course the cops figured out a way to make it punitive. So instead of like so they write you a mandatory treatment ticket and then there's no treatment. So they arrest you and put you in jail. So you didn't go to treatment.
Oh, that's crazy.
So it's just an extra step
To get in.
Allegedly, my perception of it
Feel
is
better about putting you in jail because they could be like, we tried to get him treatment.
we told him to go to treatment and he didn't.
We told him to go to treatment. We gave him a chance.
Dude, I'm a meth head that lives in a tent and the treatment center is 2 counties over. How the fuck?
Yeah, thought I was in the treatment center. I'm sorry.
Dude, listen. And honest, I don't even know how people do like the hard shit. Like, how do you do opiates in 2023, knowing that fence and everything, and you could just die? It's so fucking sad.
Scary, man.
Smoke weed instead; it won't exactly kill you.
Hey, weed, and you'll be all right.
Dude, you know what's I've been noticing recently that's been blowing my mind? Even good weed from the dispensary, doesn't like hit as clean. Like I'll cough more from dispensary weed than I will my home grow. Even when it's good, I'm like, what are y'all doing? I think it's because they leave it in jars in the sun, like because I think that's what it is.
Do you have a deli style system there where they just
yeah, it's great, bro. You walk in, right? And they're like, hey man, how you doing? And you're like, hey, and they're like, and you'll start talking about weed, and they're like, oh, shoot, I need to see your ID. And you're like, oh, yeah, here you go. And you show them their ID, and you give them their card, and they punch it in the computer, beep, boop, beep, boop. And then they're like, what are you interested in? And you're like, I'd like some pre-rolls. And then you want to smell this? And they'll pop open the pre-roll tube and let you smell it. Or they'll have jars of weed, and they'll just bring you. Now, they didn't do this during COVID. They'd grab a fan and, like, blow it towards you.
Yeah, I've seen some people do that, but, like, that pisses, like, you're just that's volatilizing. You're volatilizing terpenes and you're blowing them and you're blowing them everywhere.
Right. So it's imperfect, but it is magical if you haven't experienced it.
It's how it needs to be. It can just be done correctly.
I would like it if they didn't have the whole stash in the smell jar.
Yeah, there you go.
Honestly, I would like the big, like 2-gallon jar to be like in a dark box, and they just pull out another ounce.
Absolutely.
The smell jar every day, so you're getting fresh weed every day. And I think I wouldn't cough as much because people are like, oh, my wife was like, oh, your weed's better. I'm like, no, that's not it. This weed was good, and then at some point it's still fine. It's like solid top tier mids. I'm not buying expensive weed, but like
hand out till it wasn't.
Yeah, and I was like, so this was something that deteriorated, and then I'm sitting here and I'm thinking it's got to be the sunlight on the jars because they're. Yeah.
Oxygen and temperature. Those are your enemies. Like we know the enemies, we can eliminate them for the most part, or at least not eliminate or stop them, but we can slow them down if we try.
Oh yeah, and people and the audience needs to know this too. It doesn't have to be perfect. Listen, if
No,
you're
not at all.
you can get if you just try you're trying to get as close as you can to 60-60. Now
Yeah, I don't.
you never want to get the humidity over 60% in my opinion. But I've had excellent success drying weed that fluctuated between 45% and 55% humidity.
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
Sometimes you can't get it to 60% if you live in a desert. I'm sorry.
What's most important, you're in there and you're messing with it and you know where it's at.
Oh yeah, yeah.
If you dry it too quickly, there's things you can do, get it jarred up and, allow it to homogenize in a jar. Open that damn thing up and you're probably all right.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. A lot of stuff, if you cure it right after you dry it, it'll come out in the cure as it will. That's what we'll say. It'll come out in the cure a little bit. You got a little like grassy smell to it, a little chlorophyll that didn't
Yeah.
quite go away in the dry. Throw it in the jar, burp it every couple days. In 2 weeks, it'll be something different. It'll be great.
Might just be like, damn, this is some fuego. Uh, always like, I'd say over is better than under for sure. Because once you put it, if you jar it up and it's too early to be jarring it up, you're just kind of fumbled the ball
You're
at that point.
asking for trouble, and you can ruin it quick. It can get like it'll
Get a
get
little
this
stuff.
slimy consistency, or it'll just mold out. It's bad.
Yeah, shouldn't be consuming that. So
Yeah, you definitely want it, and there's different methods. And I actually finally had the stem test fail on me. I had to ignore it. I
yeah.
had a small Girl Scout cookie that had hollow stems.
Hmm.
So I was like, it's been 14 days. It's been pretty dry. This thing should be dry. And I'm like bending a stem and it's not snapping. So I'm like, let me see here. And I grab my clippers and I snip it and I look, I'm like, it's got a hollow stem. So I feel one of the flowers. I'm like, oh, you're ready. So it's not always perfect. So it takes a lot of practice.
I'm
But
big on. I'm sampling the whole time. Like I basically get my like after I harvest, I'm at a point where it's almost like a wine cellar or like whenever they're hanging the hams up in those old Italian video clips and stuff, I can just go in and I'll go, oh, I'll select this branch for tonight's and I'll just go smoke on it and I'll see where it's at. And then maybe we harvest, maybe we know where we're at. Kind of, you know what I'm saying?
I do. That so you're talking not when it's hanging, but when it's on the plant, you'll take it early and like dry it out real quick.
Oh, like while it's drying.
While it's drying, while it's hanging to see where
Like
it's at.
there's a point in my drying whenever like I basically don't have to touch humidity or like my temperature is pretty much right where it's at, where it needs to be. That's getting extremely lucky, obviously. If you're in extreme weather conditions, you probably,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Well, and
usually
I operate some low rent equipment, bro. Like I like to be cheap. So that's the
I
other thing.
put on a mini split. I think I spent 600 on it and installed it, figured out did the pumps, pumped it down and all that crap and got it put in properly.
My stuff's drying in my studio. I'm looking at it right now. I've got when I'm in here, I only have one low wattage Edison bulb running. So it puts off a little bit its energy more as heat than light.
Uh-huh.
I have an exhaust fan in the window. So if you come up to my front porch, it just smells like fresh weed. And then I've got two tents in here with grows going. So they're exhausting warm air into here and to keep it warm in here. And then there's a fan, two box fans blowing in opposite directions over the weed, like not on the weed, but around the weed, if that makes sense. And
You're
then, yeah,
chill weather place, right? But it gets a little
yeah. It gets
chilly.
up. It'll only get up to 50 degrees today.
Hell yeah. That's beautiful, man.
Oh yeah, it's great. So my humidity's a little low. I'm adding humidity to the room right now, like at a barely safe pace, and it's still only 42%.
We'll sit at like 20 or it feels like zero basically. You walk outside and your skin's just like cracking.
like, so when it's raining, it'll spike up to like 78% humidity and it'll stay there for days. But then when the sun comes out, it crashes down to like you said, like 20%, 28%,
Yeah.
20%. And then it'll rain and it'll be humid outside for a little bit, but it doesn't really translate to what's going on in the house. The rain is lying to you. The default setting of where I'm at is actually dry. So the rain is like a temporary relief. So sometimes the rain will make the humidity in the garage spike, but it takes weeks of solid rain that we usually don't get that much to make the humidity in the house go up, if that makes sense.
That's cool. Yeah, I get it.
So like right now, I'm running a dehumidifier in my garage all the time because it's winter and it needs it. So I just always run it, because when I don't, because I'm exhausting that humid air from that giant 4x4 into the garage will actually the walls will start dripping if I don't run a dehumidifier in there.
Oh yeah, and then that's just scary all on its own.
Yeah. So when I'm growing, I monitor humidity twice a day and I make adjustments.
That's smart. Yeah.
And if the weather's fluctuating, I'll check it 3-4 times a day. I don't have everything I have on automation. I've thought about buying a mini split, but I'm like I said, I'm very cheap, and a lot of times, like my next thing is I have to probably have to replace my dishwasher, so the mini split's gonna have to wait.
Like the damn dryer, so I just I think I fixed it for $20. I replaced like the belt, the roller, and the idler.
Nice.
Fucking YouTube, man.
Yeah, I think I have to replace the control board in my dishwasher. I'm gonna look it up later.
Oh yeah, that's fun. You gotta be wary of control boards too, because it's like you know. Anyways, sorry, I'm a technician.
Yeah, no, I might be better off replacing it, was what I was thinking. But yeah, we'll move on from there.
I was just at that point. My stuff was going ape crap, and I was like, the wife was like, you fix stuff for a living. I was like, maybe I should try. And it took probably 20 minutes.
You screwed up telling me that you were a technician. Now I'm like, yeah, growing whatever. So my dehumidifier.
I'll be like, I don't know. I wear suspenders to work, man. Yeah. On my off days, I'm usually caught in overalls. So.
Oh man. I never did overalls. I never did that. I've done some coveralls in my day for the Army. We have like a basically like, like it's a uniform colored coverall when I was in. We had the ACU, which was I don't know if y'all remember this, but for a little while in the mid 2000s, the Army wore this weird gray uniform, this gray green gravel looking digi camo monstrosity that didn't really blend into anything except gravel.
I said, sorry, the sirens are going off.
Oh no, I couldn't hear it at all.
Yeah, they're going ham right now.
The sound filter on this Zoom is pretty impressive, honestly. It's been filtering out a lot of stuff. You can't play a musical instrument into it, which is annoying. I found out recently. I was trying to fuck with someone I was recording with, and I was trying to play my harmonica into my microphone, and they couldn't hear it at all.
Oh, okay. The compression was fighting. So it's like just picking up human voice, or?
Yeah, I don't know how it works, dude. It's defaulted set how it is. I can't mess with it too much.
Oh, got you. So you can't mess with settings very much.
Yeah, I've tried and I've succeeded in making it sound worse, but never better. So
my apologies on interrupting your story. I just didn't know if it was ruining it.
Oh, no. Everything, it works fine. No. And people will say, oh, don't record podcasts on Zoom. And they're probably right. But again, we come back to money. And this is a passion project.
I think you're going over it in Audacity. So,
Oh, yeah, and I am. And honestly, the audio goes in pretty clean. I find that most of what people don't want to admit with audio quality is it's not audio quality coming out. It's audio quality coming in. So if if now I obviously not all of my guests are going to use microphones or whatever, but if I'm recording on my end, I'm using microphones. I've got headphones in.
Absolutely.
I'm blessed with a popcorn ceiling, and I've hung stuff on the walls. Like I've got a bunch of stuff like paper, like soft textured paper posters and like stuff on shelves on the walls and stuff, and a blanket on the window that breaks up sound patterns. So it creates like a really clean sound going into this microphone. And so it makes it sound way better than it is. So I think a lot of people don't engineer the sound on the front side. They should.
Or you got me that just has ADHD, and I'm already pacing around my room now. So,
But that's
I
fine.
started sitting, man. I was sitting, I promise.
Oh, I have. Well, that's the thing. The microphone and the headphones kind of nail you to the
Oh
studio
yeah.
session. But it's nice in that way. In a lot of ways, it can focus you on your thoughts. And if I get fidgety, I can go in and I've got my notes here. If I want to pick up my phone and look at my notes, I've got another copy of my notes behind the recording screen. We're getting into the magic behind the curtain now, folks.
What we do, baby.
But yeah, so what are you growing on that you're excited right now? I know you sent me a pack of seeds recently that I'm excited to get started on come spring.
Popping a bunch of black line punch. I'm basically just gearing up to go through a bunch of black line punch.
Oh, okay. Did you I sent you a pack of seeds, right? Didn't I send you some Bagseed?
You recently sent me some seeds. I need to go to the post office and grab them.
Oh, okay. Okay, they did make it. Okay, cool. All right, cool.
They should have made it, yeah. If you
So
send them,
the strawberry cough ones, they're just bag seeds. They came out of some strawberry cough I bought. That they said these days are long gone in Oregon, but used to sometimes you'd buy like a cheap ounce and it would be fire, but something went wrong and one of the buds would be filled with seeds. Everything else would be fine. Like you just break it down, smoke it, great. But I found like 28 seeds in the strawberry cough, or like 30, some crazy amount of seeds, but the weed was fire. So I grew one of them out like 2018, 2017, a while ago. And it's their old seeds. You want to soak them first. But it was fire. They just accidentally seeded some of their weeds, so they sold it for super cheap, but it was super fire. And I haven't found any males in it, but it's got like a really good strawberry, not like natural strawberry terp, like a strawberry candy.
yeah.
But it's weird because it was like mixed with funk, and it was weirdly indica leaning. For me, like indica, it was sedative and like stupefying, and it relaxed your lower back, and like this is and if you're constipated, it'll help relax your bowel. It was a really interesting strain.
No.
You know how, I don't know if anyone's ever smoked cigarettes, but if you're a smoker
Yeah.
and you can't poop and then you smoke a cigarette, then you can poop.
Like a coffee and a cigarette.
Yeah, that that strawberry cough was like a really strong coffee and a full flavored cigarette. It would just help relax your pelvic floor and let you do what you needed to do. And I had never run into a strain that was quite like that. So I'm getting ready to pop some again soon. And I'm like, I need to share this because I'm just hoarding this.
Yeah.
And I don't know. And I know that like it should be everywhere.
Whether it was a herb or a natural thing.
Oh yeah, I have no idea. Like I said, I'll a lot of times at home, like I think I sent you some of the bag seed from one of my plants. I grew this one plant I called Dave and Larry's Disaster for years. I kept finding bag seed in some of the flowers and just growing it, and it would just be female, so I just keep growing it. And I lucked out on females out of this plant like over and over again, out of this tube of seeds. I wasn't sexing them or anything. I was just growing them outside. And I figured I would have to kill some of them, and I never did.
Were they out of Bagseed?
Oh, yeah. I think it was a herm, dude.
Yeah, it would have to be a herm at that point, right? It's like an S1.
Yeah. And so
a S1 to a different cultivar,
Yeah,
F1S.
and it was seed of mysterious origin, but I just remember it being exceptionally like just middle of the road, like a true hybrid, heavy yielder, and really resilient to like wind and like high and low temperatures. The only reason I stopped growing it is because aphids, man. Aphids loved it. Aphids loved this thing, dude. I could dip this thing in strychnine and aphids would go to their death happily feeding on it. Like, no matter what I did, if they found it, they would just coat it so quickly.
Are aphids a
Something,
big thing near you?
what's that?
Are aphids a big thing near you?
Um, there's something that if you grow in my local area, you have to deal with. And it's a yearly thing. So
So
like,
maybe deal with them by growing that specific cultivar. Like, you know what I mean? Like you could have it in a certain area of your garden and have it
yeah,
as a target plant to keep all your other plants safe, maybe.
yeah.
You can go out there, like, have them attracted to that plant and then go just like hit them with some soap and water and kill them or whatever.
Oh yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Just like
I worry about the room. I,
you could have
I'm
a
I I'm gonna do peppers again in a different part of my garden this year, and I'm gonna try to use them as decoy plants.
okay,
But
cool. Yeah.
what I stopped doing, here's another thing with aphids, folks. This broke my heart. Cilantro. Stop it.
Salon.
You
They
can't
love
grow you they aphids love that shit. So if you're growing cilantro, you're inviting them in. And then
it. No.
they're not going to stay on the cilantro. They'll colonize they'll just colonize your whole yard. But I've also got some unique challenges in my yard. I like three of my neighbors are landscapers, so they bring home their clippings at night and then dump them in the morning. So
Hmm.
so if they park next to my fence, the aphids just fly off all that stuff that they trimmed off of wherever they were working and onto my shit. So I get constant new batches of pests in the
Got
summer for
shit.
other. So I get to practice my IPM and I get to see some stuff in
Yeah,
my
man.
garden that not everyone gets to see. And then I have some endemic insects that I just constantly deal with that aren't always a problem, but sometimes are. I've got these little yellow beetles that have black spots. I think they're called potato beetles or something. And
Hmm.
they are always present in my area and in my garden. They're kind of just around. I kill them when I see them manually. But every once in a while their population will explode. And so normally they rove around and they'll just feed on foliage and they don't cause much of a problem. You just kind of kill them when you see them and they'll feed on the leaves. But if you've got a big resilient outdoor plants, it's kind of a little chewing. You find them, you kill them, no fuss, no muss, right?
Absolutely.
That's kind of how I deal with most of the low pressure pests. And then
Yeah, we got
sometimes, yeah,
low pressure pests and shit like that.
like a grasshopper. Like you're not going to prevent a grasshopper unless you've got netting. You're not going to prevent a grasshopper passing through your garden from time to time. It's just going to
No,
happen.
I'm
So
actually some netting this year.
you're going to do netting?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna do some netting this year. I was gonna do some shade, like 20% shade, maybe 15%, and then do some netting possibly.
Oh, you've got to post your shade grow, dude. Because people have been telling me to grow under a shade cloth for years, and I don't want to
Yeah,
do it. And you
I,
see
I
how big my plants are too. You see the problem, right?
we'll get up to 120 or 110 in the summer. So we really got to get it down to like, I may have to have like I'm thinking maybe run a 15 or something, keep another 15, go over that if that works. I don't know how that's.
How long are you getting up to 120?
It'll hit like it might be a week or I mean a month.
But you don't get you're not in the mountains though, so you don't get those temperature swings at night. So
It's just
it's
it'll still be like
100 at night, 90.
yeah, yeah, and maybe 90, 80. You might get 80, but still,
Oh, okay. So it'll get 120 here, and the plants just dance in it. But
uh,
but it's only like for 3 hours, and then it goes back
but we
down.
get some. That's not really also like it's like sun beating down on them. and then you got just dust, just hella.
Oh, yeah, that's another thing you got to deal with for sure. I didn't think about that. It being drier there.
Yeah, I want to see whatever I can do to try to just help them out as much as possible.
See, I'm really lucky. It gets dusty around where I live, but I've uh I've cultivated a bit of a I waste a lot of water keeping my shit green. I grow a lot of other plants. Like I have a bit of a hedgerow in the back of my garden kind of going. I've got witch hazel. The lady before me had a beautiful flower garden that I've been struggling to just maintain and just all this other stuff. So if I keep water on it, it keeps the dust down. And so I've been running with that. And then I've got I don't know if they grow pot, but my neighbors on both sides also garden. So they're keeping the dust down as well because they're watering their plants and they're managing their property. The worst thing, honestly, people complain about being located next to like low skilled gardeners. I'd rather be located next to low skilled gardeners than a dude that's just farming dirt all
Yeah.
the time.
But what
Like,
the hell does that even mean? Like,
oh, like gardeners that are like their first years, so they just have pest problems and stuff. But like
yeah,
you can help that person out,
yeah, go
and then
fucking have a conversation with
yeah,
them.
dudes will watch people just struggle,
Nobody
just like
wants to
stroke
fucking
their beard and just watch them
yeah.
fail.
No, well, maybe some people want to struggle. It feels like that sometimes, but
There's definitely an aspect of that in my learning process. I definitely struggled for a few years before I
oh,
started.
I'll embrace the struggle. But I'm not gonna deny some helpful information.
Oh my God. Someone gave me a few tricks for growing local tomatillos here. That really helped me out before I finally gave up because that's one of those plants that only does good here some years. So I finally gave up. It's one of the plants that does really really well where I'm from down in the
But you
Houston.
figured it out and still gave up.
Oh yeah, because it doesn't matter. You even if you only have the weather. It's you're dependent on the weather and the
Yeah.
conditions. So I've had bumper crops of tomatillos.
What's the big issue? Like winds or something?
You know, I'm not sure. You know how some years the weather's not quite right and tomatoes fail to thrive? It's not warm enough, or the blossoms will just not set right, or
So they're
some,
just not thick and juicy is the issue.
they won't set fruit.
Okay, yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah, the condition I don't know if it gets too cold at night here for them or what.
Yeah.
So sometimes during really hot, dry summers, I would get a crop, but other times I would think I would start setting fruit and then it would just fall off.
Do they deal on like a light cycle like cannabis,
I have no idea.
Were
I
you
don't know.
in that pain in the ass area you were talking about where you go to
Yes, I was. I wonder if
so
that was
maybe
the
if you move
problem.
it over, G Money, and maybe you're a Tomatillo master now.
No, well, see, and there's the other thing. I don't know if the tomatillo was one of the plants that was bringing in other pests.
Oh, okay.
I'm limiting the variety of annuals I
Absolutely.
cultivate to try to avoid like extra
Issues
pest
here.
pressure because I already have tons of perennials for them to hide in.
Mm-hmm.
So for me to invite a bunch of more fast growing but more fragile plants into my garden.
That you
So
really, really care about.
yeah, so I don't want to honestly, for the longest time when I was working a full-time job for the federal government, I grew tomatoes always just as a cover for all the shit I was buying for cannabis. And so if people asked me, "Oh, you garden a lot," and I'd show them my big tomatoes, and what they wouldn't realize is that I had like 8-foot cannabis plants on the other side of my yard. They never saw. but like I was just trying to be discreet, and then recently I was like, well, these things bring in pests, and they're almost as much work as the cannabis, and I had to really have a heart-to-heart conversation with myself over what I wanted to grow. And now I'll grow like the odd cherry tomato in a pot, but I'm not growing like indeterminate tomatoes anymore. And when I say indeterminate, I just mean tomatoes that don't have their size limited. So there's two types of tomatoes in general. There's indeterminate and determinate tomatoes, kind of like autoflowers versus photoperiods in cannabis. Determinate tomatoes reach a certain size, fruit set flower, and that's it. They only get that big. But indeterminate tomatoes, they just grow on a vine until the weather kills them, just constantly producing.
Yeah, I think if I cared about tomatoes as much as if I ate as many tomatoes as I smoked weed, maybe, but I don't see myself like waking up like I need give me these tomatoes ready.
And there's other plants that I would rather grow that are edible. So like I grow peppers, and so when I vegetable garden, generally I'm doing like a jalapeno and like some exotic pepper, and then like some other thing, like 3 or 4 plants, and that's it.
And that's chill too, because peppers are dope because they have the heat
Oh
associated.
yeah.
So like
Well,
you
and I
eat
like
it,
to pickle them.
chill it for an hour, 30 minutes, or it's not just the eat it and it's gone kind of thing.
Oh yeah, and they're versatile. And I know some people actually utilize the capsaicin in their pest control in their cannabis garden. I don't, but I know some
One,
people do. Holy crap, dude. Did you look at the time? We've been at it for like a little over an hour, I think. Oh no, are you muted?
yeah, I had to mute. My cat was throwing up on my bed.
Oh no.
We
See,
handled business though. We got it.
you know what though? Honestly, bro, that cat was like a perfect indicator of where we were, because it's been over an hour since we started. So we got to get out of here. I'm gonna be in editing jail for years.
Had a blast. I know we just went off on our normal tangent, so that was fun.
I like doing podcasts with you, because we do get a little more informal, and I think the listeners appreciate me not just sticking more to the script like I normally do. And it's always fun hanging out. I always have a blast. It was fun to do like a hybrid show with the other
Absolutely.
program, and I can't wait to have you back on in the future and talk more about weed and the school to prison pipeline. We'll have
Yeah.
to talk.
I hope
Well,
you
next time we'll have to talk about the immortal Joe Diffie instead of Garth Brooks.
Oh yeah. Well, no, Toby Keith, man, you gotta raise your red stuff
Oh, okay, yeah.
bro.
He will never smoke weed with Willie again. It is official.
Ever again. Poor
Dang.
brother. We heartbroke here in Oklahoma.
A Oklahoma native son.
Absolutely. We
So
all should.
rest in peace to Toby Keith. And where can they find you if they want to find you online?
They can find me on Gemseeker Genetics,
Uh,
or Gross.
at Dummy Grows, at Gemseeker Genetics. You can find him. You can find his auto flower seeds and others on Multiverse Beans and at BokashiEarthworks.com. That's correct.
.net, yep, or .com, I think.
.net.com something.
Yep.
Type in Bokashi Earthworks into Google and be smarter than we are. Thank you for being on, Gemseeker. And I'm stopping the recording.
Stopping.
It's Todd Wisdom. S&T Records, let's get it. Zecca on the beat. I'm riding, all the homies with me. Yeah, we been getting hella faded. Just like our eyes, we be staying low-key. Vibing out, always staying medicated. I'm riding, all the homies with me. Yeah, we been getting hella faded. Just like our eyes, we be staying low-key. Vibing out, always staying medicated. I'm gonna get lit, take another fat rip off this bomb shit. Can't get enough of it, yes. Hitting the best.
Oxygen and temperature, those are your enemies. Like, we know the enemies. We can eliminate them for the most part, or at least not eliminate or stop them, but we can slow them down if we try.